Nostalgia, a sentimentality I cherish so deeply. There's just nothing like diving deep into a wonderful childhood memory, reconnect with it, and let the joy wash over you. And today, I want to reconnect with OsWALD, a video game I hold very dear to my heart. Listen, I come from Denmark, a small and rather insignificant country in the grand scheme of things, so when I was a kid, a video game developed in Denmark was a big deal. And OsWALD was a truly groundbreaking game that premiered in a late 80s talk show on Danish television where viewers could call in and play the game for prizes over their push-button phones. The Danish video game industry has come a long way since then, but it all started with OsWALD. Thankfully, that horrendous cover is very misleading. You don't kill polar bears in this game, you play as one. A really cute one. I spent hours playing this as a kid, and I've wanted to play it again for years, so I think it's about time I go visit my dear old friend again. Jesus! Wait a minute, OsWALD is blue? Has he always been blue? I thought he was a polar bear. That's how I remembered him. Anyway, the game is very simple. OsWALD needs to jump from ice flow to...
Det var vel nok ærgerligt. Vi prøver igen.
What I was trying to say before I was so rudely interrupted was that OsWALD needs to pick up as many presents as possible and stay out of the water because he can't swim. So he's clearly not a polar bear. Weird how I remember that so differently. Oh well. Thankfully, there's also the option to jump on whales, but only momentarily. Those boing sounds are driving me nuts. I suppose I had a much higher tolerance for annoying sounds when I was a kid because I did not remember those at all. Did that bird just shout, what? Oh my god, that's horrific!
Spillet er slut.
OsWALD also needs to look out for these scary-looking spear-carrying humanoids. Wait a minute, that sound. What the hell, man? What is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sound doing in a children's game? At least these creeps don't cut up OsWALD with a freaking chainsaw if they catch him. So, OsWALD must jump from ice flow to ice flow and avoid everything, basically. He's got no friends here, besides OsWALDine, but that requires a second player, and I've got no one to play this game with.
Det var vel nok ærgerligt.
That would have been nice though, because it's really difficult to collect all those presents myself. I could of course just not bother doing that, as it doesn't seem like there is any reason for collecting them. In fact, what is the point of collecting all those presents? I've never understood why, I just do it. I guess I'll find out once I actually beat the game. You see, I never actually completed the game when I was a kid, so it will be great to finally get answers to all these questions. Maybe all these presents were dropped by Santa on Christmas Eve and OsWALD wants to return them to him. But as far as gameplay goes, that's all there really is to it. Jump on the things, don't stand on the demon whales for too long, try not to get a heart attack from the screeching hellbirds, evade the whatever those are, pick up the presents, and stay alive. Yes, Mål! That basically means goal or finish line rather, so I did it! I have finally completed OsWALD! But there's nothing but water here. Endless freezing water. So what is OsWALD gonna do now? We know for a fact that he can't swim and he can't turn back either, so is he just stuck here? And what about the presents? Isn't this where we are supposed to find out what's inside them? You know what? I think the game might have glitched because this can't be right. The game got an upgrade less than a year later titled Super OsWALD, so I guess I'll need to play that instead, so let's do that.
Super OsWALD!
Nostalgia is a strange thing. It's a way to travel back to all these points in your life where everything was just so much simpler. Do you remember how, as a kid, you would pay attention to the silliest little things? I always thought it was really strange that the S in OsWALD was smaller than all the other letters, almost as if we weren't meant to notice it. OsWALD. Wait, Wald means forest in German, and is the O actually a zero? Zero? Forests? Is that some kind of sick joke, or is OsWALD jumping to stay alive because all the forests are being logged, causing his habitat to melt from global warming? I may be overthinking this, but when I was a kid, I never had to worry about things like climate change. Everything was this rainbow-colored world full of imagination and exploration back then. Now it's more like a gray gradient of paying bills, job obligations, and constant reminders of how scary the world is. The world has always been scary, I suppose, but as a kid, I was too busy being a kid to notice. I was just having fun and playing video games like OsWALD. I don't understand how I could remember OsWALD so differently though. He is not cute at all, and I can't imagine that I ever would have thought he was. I wanted to play this game again to reconnect with a dear old friend, but this doesn't feel like a friend that I ever knew. It's not like I remember everything from my childhood fondly. Have you ever seen that episode of Pingu in which he has a horrible nightmare about a big scary sea lion? That episode absolutely traumatized me when I was like 3 years old. So why do I remember that correctly as a horrible childhood memory when I remembered OsWALD incorrectly as a happy childhood memory? He is just as scary as that sea lion. He's got serial killer eyes, for crying out loud. They say that time heals all wounds, but I think what actually happens is that time warps our memories and creates false positive ones. My nostalgia for this game is what led me to return to it, but what my actual memory should have done was prevent me from ever going back. Nothing about it is how I remembered it, so I can't even trust my own brain. Great. OsWALD has been jumping on stupid ice floes my entire lifetime. I'm constantly growing older, and one day I'll die. But OsWALD, if there are still Amiga emulators around 1000 years from now, he'll still be jumping on ice floes. He's doomed to just mindlessly move forward and repeat the same action over and over again until he's faced with eternity. Mindlessly moving forward, repeating the same action over and over again until he's faced with eternity. Is my life really that different from OsWALD's? Aren't I myself just quote-unquote jumping on ice floes to pay my bills, to stay alive, to, well, pass the time until I'm faced with eternity? Aren't we all? Is that all life is? Jumping on friggin' ice floes? If that's the case, I guess being mortal is a privilege I have that OsWALD doesn't, because at least I'm not stuck in a perpetual video game reality where nothing's ever really over. Except if YouTube is around 1000 years from now, then won't this version of me in this video too be stuck in this demented world alongside OsWALD? Did OsWALD want to lure me back to this game under the false pretense of happy childhood memories, to trap me forever alongside him in his disturbing world of never-ending ice floes and presents that cannot be opened? What have I done? By the way, that does not mean what you think it means.